And we're live. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Modern Enterprise Architecture Meetup, brought for you by From Here On and EA Learning. Today's topic is Women in Enterprise Architecture, Fresh Perspective on Dynamic Career. So good afternoon to those of you in Australia and New Zealand, and good morning to our viewers in UK, if anyone actually awake. I doubt it, but anyway, good morning just in case. Please make sure to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know where you're watching us from and what you do. I'm Jana Martins, Talent Community Lead at From Here On, and I will be your host for today. So today, our speakers are accomplished women in enterprise architecture. Will be sharing their career stories, key insights, and perspective on the future of enterprise architecture. They explore the strategy they had. They have driven their success, pivotal moments in their journey, and what's ahead in enterprise architect for enterprise architect as we embrace new emerging technologies. So please, I encourage you to join our discussions with your questions and comments, or at least say hi in the comments so that we know that you're here. So we are live today on YouTube and LinkedIn. Doesn't matter where you're watching us, you can still introduce yourself and comment with your questions. We are running these discussions monthly. This is the last stream of the year, and we'll skip January because of the holidays, in long holidays in Australia, and start in February next year. So our purpose is to create a space for architectural thinkers to connect and share information, and to build an informal community where members can enjoy exploring diverse architectural ideas. So, and we're also running some face-to-face events as well. We had amazing face-to-face events this Tuesday with over 100 people joining enterprise architects from different backgrounds. So, yes, get involved and join us. So that's probably enough of me. I'm gonna pass it on to our speakers to introduce themselves. We'll start with Christine, please.
Hi, Jana. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. So I'm Christine Stepherson, and I've been an enterprise architect for over 25 years. Worked for the public sector and the private sector, and had an absolute amazing career as an enterprise architect and business architect as well. Today, I am the chief architect for a company, a small boutique company called Evolve&Amplify. And I spend my time doing projects for people. And I'm also an enterprise architecture coach, where I help individuals and teams build their skills in practical enterprise architecture. Thank you, Jana. I'll pass it on to Suzanne.
Kia ora koutou. So I'm Suzanne Holland. I am an Australian living in New Zealand. I've been here since 2016 and don't currently have any plans to come back. So thank you for all the New Zealanders and Australians, and a big kia ora to our UK colleagues as well. I am the GM Strategy, Architecture and Planning in at Genesis Energy. So I've officially been in enterprise architecture for only 6 months. But my career has sort of spanned, and we'll go into that a little bit later, a lot of over 27 years in technology, from software engineering through to where I am today. And I'm just thrilled to be part of this session. So thank you from here on for really, I guess, embracing women in enterprise architecture. For me, not only my practicing in the space and leading from a people perspective, a technology team, but also really driving women in technology in general across Auckland in particular, but New Zealand in general. So glad to be part of the session.
Thank you, Suzanne. And Michelle, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Michelle Malone, enterprise architect currently at Aesop. My background, I've probably spent the last 14 years in architecture. Came to Australia about 5 years, so I was the Irish, came to Australia 5 years ago, and probably working my way around the cosmetics industry in Australia. And looking forward to you joining our conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. We have quite a few people joining us. Just let's say quick hi to all the attendees today, watching from Isabel, watching from New Zealand, Dishani watching from New Zealand, Justin here from Perth, Daryl from Perth, a lot of, fans here, another Dan from Auckland as well. It's like, looks like, the whole New Zealand here today. Here we go. Gallen's here as well. Great to see you, Christine. Perfect. Thank you guys for saying hi. And other people, I can see you watching and not saying hi. So not good, not good. Make sure to say hi in the comments. And ladies, I think the first question is kind of the obvious question. Would love to hear a little bit more about your story and what actually inspired you to pursue a career in enterprise architecture, and how's your journey shaped your perspective on the field. Like, did you, went to kindergarten and thought like, when I grow up, I'm going to be enterprise architect? Or maybe the story didn't go quite as that way. So, and at which point you actually, realize enterprise architecture is a thing. Maybe Christine, maybe we'll start with you. It's been a long journey. So what was that, moment that you decide, enterprise architecture?
Yana, my background is in technology. So my bachelor degree is in business computing. My master's, I did an MBA, but I majored in information systems. And then I finally did a professional doctorate in IT management. So when people look at me, they expect me to be an all-out technology person, but that is so far from the truth. Because 8 months into doing a software development job, I realized I was never going to be good at cutting code. I was awful at it. But what I realized I was really good at was solving problems, right? The bigger, the more complex the problem, I actually loved doing projects where the problems were really big and ugly. I ended up working for a government for a long time doing business analysis. I had a software development team I managed as well. And along that journey, I was doing a project in Queensland Health, defining requirements for a statewide risk management system. And I got headhunted by a former boss who said, I want you to come and work for me in the Queensland Government Chief Information Office to help me establish the enterprise architecture practice. And I'm like, oh, I don't know whether I really want to do that, because I loved my clients in the health sector. I loved what I did. And thankfully, the project manager on my project said to me, Christine, go and do this job, because you will never look back once you've started a career in enterprise architecture. Now, way back in 2004, enterprise architecture, most people couldn't even spell enterprise or architecture well without getting a typo in it. So I really started my career in the beginning, where enterprise architecture was an emerging discipline. And so I like to call myself the accidental architect. But geez, my career's gone places. I've practically seen the world. Forget about joining the Navy. Become an enterprise architect and you can see the world.
Like, I'm just quickly looking at the title of this live stream, making sure I spell enterprise architecture correctly. I think I did, so it's good. Suzanne, what about you? Like, what was your kind of career journey in that pivoted moment when you kind of transitioned to enterprise architecture?
Yeah, no, thank you. So I started out at university, couldn't decide between IT and marketing, so I did both. And when I finished up university, I basically got my job first in technology. So I started out with an old company, EDS, that's no longer with us, on their graduate program, which was the opportunity of a lifetime. Which took me into software development. So I went through all of the end-to-end projects, big projects. My claim to fame is developing the Australian border control system. So for those of you coming in and out of the country, those screens, I spent days and days and days and days designing those and making sure all the hotkeys worked, but back in Power Builder. So the hard work still carries on. Then I moved into sort of ERP, into more management side of things, into strategy. So within the New South Wales Railways, I did a lot of work on ERP strategy, particularly as the transport cluster started coming together. I was part of that ERP program there before I finished up in 2012. And that opportunity opened up to get more into that sort of business IT, sort of bridging that gap between technology and our business strategies. So at Sydney Water, I was in sort of an IT manager role, then moved to Boral, similar type role, moved overseas to New Zealand, once again, similar type role with Fonterra, and really sort of working with the business around what's your strategy, where are we going, how does technology enable that? And all the while, alongside those roles, I was working sort of hand in hand with our architecture teams, but trying to really kind of tell that story. My last role was General Manager IT in at Fonterra for our farm source business. So running up and down the country, retail stores, navigating that evolution during COVID from bricks and mortar to online retail. And really driving that end-to-end technology practice. And end of last year, took a redundancy from Fonterra. And as I was sort of planning and looking at my opportunities as the year progressed this year, this role at Genesis came to life. So GM strategy, architecture and planning. And I thought, business strategy, roadmaps, nailed it, planning, how can I drive value? And the other area was architecture. And I thought, well, I've worked alongside them. I know the value they bring. I know that leading a team of great enterprise architects, solution architects, I can bring this to life. So it was really looking at what that growth opportunity was for me, and just taking it by the reins. And here we are. So once again, not a full background. And as we kind of delve into different opportunities and career paths, enterprise architecture doesn't feel like I guess a strict path that people go, I'm going to start doing this and build up from there. The team members that I've got, the people I've been interviewing for roles, have all just got such a diverse journey in their careers. And it's really around how do you kind of bring technology, business strategy, vision to life in one team. So that's how I've landed in this role. Michelle.
Yeah, for me, very much accidental. So like you, Suzanne, but I was very firm. I was having a business degree. So I did business and marketing in university. Stumbled into, started as a marketing executive. They were putting in a quality management system. I put up my hand. I was in quality management. Then moved to another company. They were implementing SAP. Put up my hand again to be an SME. Ended up working on a large transformation program for a pharmaceutical company. Really loved it. Loved how, so back then, I guess, maybe 20 years ago, you know, you were moving from, we had black screens with green writing, so DOS and on old IBM mainframes, and you had this shiny, fabulous ERP system, and where we'd have, you know, maybe 50 different systems, all of the processes, a lot of them manual, some systematic, were just going into those one big box. I really loved that journey. And from there, I joined Aesop consultancy, and then I went on, I was mainly doing logistics and warehousing. And from there, I went on to retail, and that's where I found my passion. I absolutely enjoyed, I loved all the process. I loved the complexity. I loved the speed of retail. Because I'd started doing ERP transformations, you know, you're not just looking at one thing, you have to look at the company end to end. And that's what an enterprise architect does, because ERPs touch every part of the business. There's nothing you do in business that doesn't have a technology impact. And I loved probably the, you know, how, because back then a lot of processes, you know, purchasing was done on purchase order books. And then you watch the joy, you know, from the users who initially were reticent, being able to just sit back and watch a purchase order come in, it's received and it goes out, and there's no human interaction, like building those efficiencies. I fell in love with technology, but I then was fortunate because I could use my love for business and match it with technology. And that to me is that EE role. And, you know, I see enterprise architecture like an ever evolving, say, jigsaw puzzle. You know, you have to know how the bits stick together. And as a kid, that was my favorite thing, making jigsaws or solving puzzles. You know, how has it shaped my perspective? I think they may be a bit controversial, but I think enterprise architecture is a business role. I don't think it's purely IT. I think architects need to be at the heart of every strategic decision we make, because it's only then that we can truly guide the business on the technology choices and let them, to understand what will be the impact on the people, the processes, the bottom line. And for me, getting into this role, because I do think it's less technical than, solution architect or, my previous role as an SAP consultant. For me, it kind of feels like coming full circle. Both my parents owned retail businesses, which I worked in. So in my DNA, it's customer is king. And for me, that's kind of been the compass, and very valuable for me throughout my journey as an EA, because when you have that front and center, then you will make the right decision, be that the internal customer or the external customer. So yeah, absolutely love what I do.
Perfect. We definitely have a few different career journeys and perspective. I'm two people from marketing degrees. Here we go. So probably tells you a little bit how diverse could be the pathway to enterprise architecture. I feel like you already sort of mentioned that the pathway could be quite different. But what do you see like right now? What sort of trends you see right now in enterprise architecture? What excites you the most? And what sort of career opportunities you see for people in the moment, especially with some emerging technologies coming in? Suzanne, maybe we'll start with you this time.
Well, thank you. Look, what's exciting me right now and in my current role is that the organisation is saying, we want enterprise architecture. We want to build roadmaps. We want to align up our investment with our strategy, and we want technology as a partner through it. Having been in a few organisations where we've kind of tried to sort of head down and invest in enterprise architecture, and we just haven't had that buy-in, it's been really difficult, right? So what I'm loving right now in my current role in the organisation is that there's that real desire, and that's why I've been able to go out and get some new roles, which is fantastic. What's exciting me with emerging technology? Look, I'd be, remiss if I didn't say AI. Everyone's talking AI. We all want AI. But what I love about the opportunity with AI is the potential to leverage everything we've been investing in the last few years around data and digitizing everything and just building up that massive collection of information that we can now use to help drive different outcomes and where we're going and all that kind of stuff. But it scares me too. It scares me because who knows what it's capable of, and what the future might hold. It scares me a little bit because, as we move forward and, automate a lot of the sort of manual repetitive tasks, what that means from a equity perspective, and what's going to be available for young people coming into their careers. We look at jobs at McDonald's, Coles, etc., and go, what are our teenagers? I've got two teenage daughters, and daughters. I've got a son too. So two teenage kids, and I want them to sort of come in and have jobs and be able to really kind of hit into things as well. And so what really interests me and excites me as young people are coming through is also how do they learn to embrace and work alongside AI and really sort of grow with it, as opposed to it being done to them. So certainly lots of conversations in our organisation about what those opportunities might be, and really seeing where we can really drive business value. So looking forward to that's probably what excites me the most.
Michelle, does that excites you? Or
yeah, I mean, you can't be an enterprise architect and not discuss AI. For me, obviously, being retail background, it's the ability, and people are doing it today. Personalizing, targeting customers. You see Shein, Temu, they're spending a lot on AI in order to target and and meeting customers where they're at in those TikTok and social channels. I love VR. So I know, an awful lot of, I don't mind shopping, but I hate trying clothes on. So technology is moving in that way. You go to Tommy Hilfiger, you can stand in front of a VR mirror and tap on the clothes and see what they look like on you. You can do it on your phone. Most of the cosmetics retailers, obviously, in the last 5 years, I've tended to have been in cosmetics or in that side. In beauty, L'Oreal have this where you can go into store, and they acquired Modiface a few years ago, and you can actually do a check on your face to see how much your skin is aging, and then it suggests what products you should have to, I say, can't really reverse aging, but to help you to stagnate that and help get your skin better. Other emerging technologies, probably not even in the front face, but more the back end, is, as I said, I've worked in ERPs. What I'd love to see is, we see it in e-commerce where they're trying to do composable architecture. So like Shopify, they're splitting the front end, the e-commerce, and then you can have shop pay and sell that. What I'd love is, can we do that with our ERPs? Nobody wants to spend 3 years doing an ERP implementation. I mean, if you've done it, it's killed most people. But, how can we modularize that type of a journey? Because, even retailers, a lot of them now having to re-implement because the technology's moved on, everything's in cloud. That excites me. What else? Omnichannel. Ever since I've started in architecture, everyone's talking about omni-channel, but not true omni-channel. I think there's opportunities now where, you start a journey on your phone, you end up in your laptop and finish it off in store. That's proper omni-channel. I do see that coming, probably a bit away from it, but I think true omni-channel is where we need to get to, because the key for me, again, I know I'm a customer, is you got to meet the customer in the channel they want with the stock and wherever they want to buy it. So that's the things I'm excited about. Very retail.
Christine, did anything else to add? What excites you at the moment? What emerging trends you see?
Yeah, my excitement, Jana, is in the architecture discipline. Since I started my career back in 2004, I'm really excited to see more organizations and more people embracing business architecture. So it's not just about enterprise architecture anymore. It's not just about technology and solution architecture. More and more people are understanding what business architecture is all about and how to use it as a key capability within organizations. So across the globe, our friend Wendy Keane does a survey every year, and she keeps an eye on the adoption of business architecture globally. And it's so good to see more and more people embracing this discipline. What excites me even more is business architecture as a career choice for women is match made in heaven. One of the areas that, or key skills that women bring to the table is listening and empathy. And, you put those two together with the technical skills that a business architect has, and you've got this absolutely beautiful discipline and career pathway for women to come into without having that technology background. You don't need to know about technology at all to become a really good business architect. You need more of those business skills like you and Michelle have, right? They become your strengths because you know how business works. And, I'm just so encouraged to see more women turning up to be business architects as well.
This is kind of, segue us to the, next question. And Christine, maybe you'll just continue. What do you actually believe the most critical skills or like even mindset for success for enterprise architects, let's say in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so that's one of my passion topics, if you like, Jana, because it's certainly not the technology mindset that's going to make us more successful. I see a lot of enterprise architecture teams getting shut down because their focus is on technology and technology strategy. To be successful in enterprise architecture and business architecture as well, you need to be focusing on what is the operating model of the business. You need to be able to build that very strong relationship with, we refer to them as the business, but I'm pushing more and more people to understand that as an enterprise architect and a business architect or a technology architect, you are the business too. So the mindset that people need to bring to the table today is believing that they are part of the business. So if you are going to do an operating model transformation, for example, it's not just about technology. It's about how do we bring our multidisciplines together to design and deliver a fresh target operating model that's actually going to be competitive and truly transformational, not just, another failed technology project. So I'd love to see more people bring that mindset, right? I am the business. I have an opinion. I have a voice. And this is how I can contribute to the organization's transformation journey so that we deliver strategy much faster, much smarter.
I totally agree with you, Christine. I think that's one of the things that that I said in the beginning. I think enterprise architecture should be in the business. We have a lot of these business partners, and then they have enterprise architects over in technology. But the enterprise architect, through their journey, has learned about the business and know the tech. So, yeah, very much. I think it's I think critical skills for people wanting to come into enterprise architecture is get to know the business. Understand what are their competitive pressures, follow the industry trends. As an EA, when I go on LinkedIn, I'm following Janine Alice. I'm following, I'm following, successful women in business. I'm probably, and then, anyone who knows me, I say I'm not a techie. I'm not a techie. I understand it, but it doesn't float my boat. Doesn't jump. I don't jump out in the bed in the morning to understand about cloud computing. But it's what I get excited about is how can I change the business? How can I make it better? How can I make things better for the customer? So I think, if you want to get into this space, you want to, you have to be eager to learn, get out there. One of the things that I found brilliant coming over to Australia in a couple of the roles, it was, you have to do a day in store, you have to do a day in the warehouse. If you don't get those opportunities, go out and do them, because that's how you learn. And that's how, I remember way back, it's like, we sat in a room and we implemented a system, and then you throw it over the fence and it doesn't work. You've got to get in, you've got to immerse, because what you really have to do is build those trusting relationships with the business. And the way you do that is to know their trade. So just get in there. If there's opportunities to buddy up for a day with the CRM director, go do that. I think the skills are different in the future. And what I would love is not to have to go into business and I go, hi, I'm Michelle Malone, I'm the enterprise architect. And they go, oh, what's enterprise architecture? Like, I can't begin to tell you the number of times I had to use, here's the house analogy. This is what a tech or an architect who builds a house does. This is what I do, and try to do the analogy. Like, I would love a world where, she's the enterprise architect, and that the business is wheeling you out, not IT, like that sponsorship from the business.
Yeah. Look, the important thing, for people wanting, fresh look at enterprise architecture as a career, one of the key mindsets as well to bring, or I shouldn't really call it a mindset, is it's more, be brave and be courageous, and don't expect somebody to give you a process or a rule book to follow. A lot of really good enterprise architects are the way they are because they went out when nobody else dared to, right? They went out and forged these relationships with business people, and in what I call trusted partnerships. They're not, like, I hate it when people say, oh, I'm a trusted advisor to the business. I'm like, can you just pack your bags up and go home? Because I need a partner who's going to work beside me. And so understanding that partnering mentality and collaboration is a really key skill set for people to apply when they are in architecture roles.
And I think curiosity, right? Like, it's getting out there and seeing what are other organizations doing? Where is not just technology, but where are other businesses going? What's happening out there? Really, if you've got an organization that partners with some of the big players, and most of them do, is really kind of leaning into that and saying, well, what have you done overseas? How do I learn from that? How do I get some of those use cases and really bring some of those conversations alive in our own organization to start people thinking differently? A lot of organizations I've worked in We've had people there with a very long tenure, and so they know what they know, and really it's kind of bringing those together. And it's not necessarily me or my team having all the insight. It's even just bringing and starting that conversation. Bring together someone external, someone with our team, and saying let's start that conversation together. So I certainly don't feel like the enterprise architecture individuals or teams need to know everything. They're more sort of how do we kind of weave some of those stories together to help drive that business value.
Absolutely.
And Suzanne, maybe we'll just continue with you. Do you think there's some unique skills or perspective women bring to enterprise architecture? So obviously now it's all women here. Do you think there is a difference? Do you think that women have a different approach or some different skills, or it's not about this? It's just just maybe not that many women just know how to make the career to enterprise architecture. So what's your view on this?
Like, I think women bring a special something to everything they do. So definitely to enterprise architecture. But when I think about the broader team, and I think about the practice and all that kind of stuff, I think women working alongside men, working alongside people of all different ethnicities and backgrounds, I think that's what makes a really good architecture team. And it's bringing those diverse perspectives and backgrounds and lived experiences. Even if you're Australians working in Australia or New Zealanders working in New Zealand or UK people working there, if you've worked and lived and been part of other cultures and can bring some of that back and bring some of those ideas and be able to truly represent not only your employees but your customers, I think that's what kind of brings it together. We talked a couple of the skills around really sort of listening and being able to sort of really have those good conversations, build those relationships. I think a lot of women are really strong at that. A lot of women really suck at that, right? And some of the a lot of my male colleagues are wonderful at that, and others potentially not, right? So I just think it's really, as we build those teams, it's making sure that we've got that good mix. And so I think it's more with those career paths, how do we encourage more women to explore those career paths to get into those roles? I've recently been out recruiting for, enterprise solution architect roles. I had very limited women to bring through the interview process to even sort of explore some of those. So certainly wanting to, help back them to really drive their careers forward.
I agree, Suzanne. I think it's about having a diverse team. Like, I don't believe men are better than women at this particular role, but I think women, they have different traits naturally. Not saying that it's a hard line, but women like to collaborate. They like to get everyone's opinion. They like everyone to feel heard, and that's really important when you're implementing technologies. That you do get everybody's, feedback and input. I think, if you ever see a bunch of women sitting together, they're inquisitive. They'll come out with far more stories than if I put, maybe a bunch of males together. Maybe we're nosy, I don't know. But you need that type of inquisitive nature, not be afraid to ask questions, ask the why. And I also think probably multitasking, that's another skill like that EAs need. And I think us women are, well, I don't want to say we're kind of training for it our whole lives, with jobs, social life, throw a bit of pregnancy into that, enterprise architecture is multitasking because there are many programs of work that you have to be across and need that skill. I'm not saying women are better than men, but they are some of the unique perspectives that they bring. And it's so important to have both, to get the best outcomes. So I totally agree, Suzanne.
Yeah, that's very well put, Michelle. You echoed exactly what I was thinking. What I found across my career, it wasn't so much that I had a lot of women in my team. What was more important, to Suzanne's point, is that I had very diverse teams. The organizations I struggled the most with were the public sector. In the private sector, where I worked for large global organizations, where I had exposure and that ability to pick people on my team from diverse cultures, diverse genders, diverse languages. I always had the A team on my team. And I always go back to the fact that because they were so diverse and they came with their unique perspectives, we were able to solve problems in ways because we had the cultural sensitivities. We had, people to deal with the language difficulties wherever it was we were working. And it made us great, really good architects.
Yeah.
We have a comment from Mac. Nailing it, Michelle. I agree. A room full of male architects often end up rooting for supremacy.
Thank you, Mac.
Hey guys, some controversial comments, listening and empathy, key behaviors. So Jason saying, couldn't agree more, Christine. Those soft skills and empathy perspective are also important. There's a few ladies joining us. Thank you for sharing your journey and it's inspiring journey, and thank you for sharing your great insights. Guys, whoever's listening to us, we have time for some questions as well. So make sure to pop some questions in the comments if you have any questions for the speakers. I guess my next question, we already sort of, discussed that we do want that diversity. And, even at our last meetup, we had about 100 enterprise architects in the room and probably about 7 or 8 women. So what do you think, why women not entering that career as much? Is it just because that career looks more like a technical and people think that it's, people from technical background usually entering this career, or is just the career journey is not that clear? So what do you think the actually main reasons why not that many women actually pursue that career?
Yeah, no, I was having a conversation today with a lovely lady in Adelaide who's going to be at our Women in Architecture event in Adelaide next week. And we were theorizing the exact same question, why is it that women don't apply for these roles? And we were talking about the fact that when a woman looks at the selection criteria and there are 10 selection criteria statements that you have to meet in order to be successful in applying for the role. If a woman finds that she perhaps doesn't meet 3 out of those 10 criteria, she won't apply for the role because I'm not going to be successful. However, again, I'm sure my male colleagues on this call will correct me if I'm wrong. A male would apply for that job anyway, even if they didn't meet that all 10 criteria. They would pretty much come up with a really good story around how they do meet that criteria and apply for the job, whether they get it or not. So I think that, in my opinion, the whole recruitment process is flawed because we're so focused on you must meet these requirements, otherwise you're not going to be successful in the role. We need to have conversations with women around how do we actually do things like role plays, or set up scenarios in which we can model behaviors that are required for these key essential roles. And then perhaps, if we made it a safer place for women to show us what they can do, we would have more women applying for these roles. If we even had an opportunity to the process to say, hey, if you've got any questions about the selection criteria, call me and let's have a conversation. I think that will take away some of those barriers that hold women back from applying for roles.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've been reading some research by Dr. Sterling, who's quite big in the New Zealand area, really looking at women in their roles, more in leadership kind of things. And a lot of the focus has been on the women themselves in the past, and are they confident enough? Are they putting themselves forward, etc. And the focus is starting to shift a lot more to the organisations around what are the organisations doing, what are the structures and the systems in place to really, I guess, support and encourage women across their whole career. We see a lot of focus on young women in STEM coming through university, and how do we open up those opportunities? And certainly you're seeing in sort of those graduate programs and stuff like that, we've got a lot equal recruitment across those processes. And then I'm also seeing quite a lot of, focus on women in leadership and senior roles. But as we've sort of seen with enterprise architecture, it's not an early career role, because coming with just that breadth of knowledge of organisations, of technology, etc. You're not going to recruit young straight out of university into an enterprise architect role. But it's also not necessarily women coming in from a senior leadership management perspective. It's people that have navigated. They might have come from business analyst into architect, or from sort of more a technical role and into there, or various roles across organisations. So it's more focusing, I guess, at an organisation level on how do we support women across their career journeys and let them do sideways moves, open up, and sort of managers working with your team saying, well, how can I help you explore opportunities that aren't necessarily roles that you may not apply for, to give you that confidence, to build up that ability to say, well, actually, I've done this. How does that opportunity line up for that? What are you seeing, Michelle?
Yeah, I think, as I said, earlier, I think there's a lack of understanding what an enterprise architect is. I think it's on us to promote that. I think it's on the businesses to promote that role, explain what it is, elevate that role. I think also there's lack of representation of females in this, so therefore there's fewer visible role models, so that may discourage younger women pursuing it. I think companies need to create like mentorship programs, with new graduates, with enterprise architects, to show them what that role is. I think sponsorship too. I think we need to actively advocate for the progression of women, like in these areas. And like Christine says, I think there is imposter syndrome. I'm very guilty of it. I apply for a role that I'm 100% capable of, and then I leave no room for growth. Whereas, I did read a statistic on this. I think it was 60% a man will apply for a role that he's 60% capable of. Fair play to him. That's what everybody should do. This is the type of thing is kind of going, it's okay. I think networking too. I think, I've attended many networking events, and it's predominantly male. I think, the amazing things that, from here on in with their modern architecture, I think what we're doing today, what Jana is fantastic at doing is, setting up these events to promote, us ourselves being on these calls. We have to get out there. We can't just talk about it. We have to get out and shout and explain that it is a really exciting role. If anyone wants to talk to me, and anyone who knows what I do or has worked with me, know I'm absolutely passionate about it. It is such an exciting role. That's probably my view on it.
I just want to add to that a comment Suzanne made around, it's difficult recruiting graduates to enterprise architecture roles. I absolutely agree that they do need broad knowledge. However, what I found when I recruited graduates into my team, they actually become really good analysts. They are really good at doing research, especially because they're just out of university, right? I know from here on, a lot of the analyst roles in the team are filled by graduates who very quickly get to learn, consulting behaviors and how to work in an architecture team. And within a couple of years are now, becoming consultants. And I've watched the career paths of some of these consultants go from a graduate right through to being a principal consultant. So it is possible for graduates to join architecture teams, not perhaps as an enterprise architect, as what you were probably thinking about, Suzanne, but in roles that eventually build up their skills to become really good enterprise architects.
And that's that sort of support and encouragement and continuing to grow from that graduate recruitment all the way through their careers. And I think that's where, as organisations, we've really got to make sure we're focusing on for everyone, right? Obviously we're women, but for all of our team members, part of really kind of staying and respecting and taking pride in your organisation is your career development and how you get the most out of that.
That's right.
Ariel's always saying there can be also issue with how these roles describe in ads that might discourage some female to apply. And we're not that great at position descriptions. It's like, I think a lot of company guilty on that. You just find some PDF from 2 years ago and put it on Seek, and and surprise why not relevant people to applying. Karen was saying, I also think that women need a bit more flexibility in working hours, and unless that is not offered in the role description, they may not apply for it. Women also like to understand better the key challenges of the organization and have time to prepare for an interview a bit more, which is often not outlined in a job ad. I actually from the talent acquisition perspective, I definitely noticed also, if you make an offer to the women too quickly, they feel suspicious. Like, if I'll call the man like after the interview and say like, okay, that's it, we'll send you a contract. They're like, oh yeah, cool, no worries, I'll sign. If I do it with the women, she's like, oh, like she feels it like it's something wrong. Like, why are you calling me straight away? Why are you offering straight away? Like, didn't we need to like time to think? So I definitely noticed that. Which has been a bit of a surprise for me. But there is, no one talks about this, but there is some observation there too. Ladies, really enjoying the conversation, but we're already 45 minutes into our conversation. I would love to sort of ask you the last question to summarize sort of today's conversation. I know with so many points we haven't even touched on to, but time restrictions. I would love you to finish this session with a bit of advice, like looking ahead. What advice would you give to those women or men or graduates? Like, it doesn't matter, like, to anyone that's considering enterprise architecture as a career, and how they can prepare for success in the field. Like, if you summarize everything we said today, what would be your sort of top advice for people who want to pursue the career?
I could take
Suzanne,
that.
Michelle.
Yeah, I think, as I've said probably throughout the chat today, is learn the business. Walk around the business. The very first thing that I ever do is, start with an org chart, find how the company works, and just walk your way around. Find your stakeholders, get to know them, get them to know you. Seek out mentors, create relationships. Go to these networking events. So like the amazing, that what From Here On had, there's a sister club. I attended an amazing event there where you've got fabulous women. There was, CEOs, CTOs. You go there, get inspired, and you do make great networks or great connections. Over to you, Christine. Have you anything to add to that? Or?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. For me, the advice is really simple. It's whatever role you are in, whatever job you are in, it doesn't matter whether it's enterprise architecture or not. The one thing people need to remember is that you do not have to have all of the answers at one point in time. There is no enterprise architect in the world that has all the answers. But what makes a really good enterprise architect is a person who has built a network within the organization. So having lots of cups of coffee with people and getting to know them, getting to know what their unique skill is, that's what makes enterprise architects successful, is because when you're faced with a problem, you've already built up a database in your head which tells you who's going to be a really good partner to bring in to help you solve this problem, because you don't have all the pieces of the puzzle yourself. So getting to know people in the organization, working out what they do, why they do it, is really important, because when you go to university and you do a degree, you only learn so much, but there's so much more that you will learn once you embark on your career in business.
Yeah, and look, and sort of, they've said it all, but it's really having that curiosity, right? And really going out there and exploring every opportunity. I've got one of the people in my team said, I'm going to say yes to everything that's asked of me, unless it's dangerous or illegal. I'm going to say yes. And that way you open yourself up to new opportunities, new challenges, new conversations, new projects, and really help drive where you're going, where your career is going, and just opens up some of those doors. So if you're curious, really positive and say yes and sort of lean into things, I think it'll open up a lot of doors to you and really create those networks, have those conversations, and really understand the organisation that you're working with and what those career paths look like. And don't be shy to look outside of your organisation as well. Build out those connections across the practice, across industries. Keep in contact with people who you haven't worked with for a while. I'm loving seeing the comments and the chats from people who I've worked with, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I love the fact that I can just pick up the phone and call them. I'm looking at an issue at the moment, and I went onto the vendor's website. Two organisations I've previously worked for are hailed as customers. I've pinged them on LinkedIn and said, let's chat. It's keeping those conversations alive and really taking ownership of where you take your career.
Perfect. And it's a perfect segue to my next announcement, because, I always encourage everyone to network, and we're doing these online sessions. And actually, online sessions is a great way to network. Obviously, no one can replace face-to-face. I'm advocating for face-to-face. But you can join the online groups like this as well and ask the question and actually network in the comments and just make the new connection by looking, who attended this LinkedIn event? And connect with attendees. So there's just so many little tricks and tips you can network with people online as well. And we actually, from here on, is really excited to sponsor next Women in Architecture event that we will be holding in all the capital cities. We're going to sponsor event in Sydney on the 11th of December. And the evening will feature a panel discussion and follow some networking drinks. So everyone is welcome to this networking event, even if it's a Women in Architecture. So a lot of men asking me, can I come if I'm men? Yes. If you're working in the enterprise architecture and you're a man and you're in Sydney, you can come to this event. Anyone welcome to join us in Sydney. Just great way to celebrate the end of the year and connect with community. I'll be in Sydney as well, so would love to meet everyone in person. And if you're not in Sydney, don't worry. Women in Architecture is actually hosting events in all major cities, in Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide on the same day, on the 11th of December. So be sure to check them out. I'll make sure I'll share some links in the comments. And also, obviously, we're trying to keep growing this community, our Modern Enterprise Architecture group. Our next event is scheduled for the first week of February. If you want to get notified, I'll encourage you to join our meetup group. We have a separate meetup groups for Australia, New Zealand, and UK. So make sure to join the meetup group in your country, because we are obviously, I would love to bring more face-to-face events like we did last Tuesday and bring people together, and the one that we're doing in Sydney next week. And of course, the usual stuff, follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Depends what is your preferred way to consume information. So that's probably enough of me. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me this evening. And I'm just going to put you on the spot here. So everyone ready? Everyone stressed? I would love you to finish this conversation, just maybe by really quickly sharing just your favorite inspirational quote, or just something. Look at this.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it. Let's go with
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christine, do you have your favorite one?
Yeah, mine is learn fast.
Learn fast. Just do it. Michelle, pressure's on.
Pressure's on. Is it fail fast, learn fast?
Fail fast, learn fast, yes. And just do it. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think we've hopefully inspired everyone to look at enterprise architecture as a career. And if you are thinking about careers in enterprise architecture, you can connect with Martins on LinkedIn. You can see my name on the screen. So anyway, thank you, everyone. and have amazing Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you in February 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jana.